Mr. Manocha, let me come to you now to address some of the other critical priorities and imperatives. Talent was something that Mr. Dham put on the table. What else do you believe that the stakeholders within the system will need to focus on? We've got the minister here with us.
First of all, I'd like to applaud the Indian government, especially Minister Vaishnav and Minister Chandrasekhar, for announcing the right kind of policy for the first time in the history of India's ambition for semiconductor. I've been involved for many years with the Indian government, with MIT, or it used to be called DITI before. And always I used to hear, we want a fab in India. I'd run fabs all my life in my professional life. For 40 years, I've been in Bell Labs and Philips and Global Foundry CEOs. So I was against that vision before. I wanted first to have an ecosystem with not just one fab, but multiple fabs. And fortunately, the policy that announced early this year makes a lot of sense. It underpins the messages are given. Back to your question on the barriers to this, I think geopolitical issues are definitely very, very significant for the industry. Most industry leaders are always concerned about geopolitical issues because last 4 or 5 years have been very difficult for the industry. The US-China tensions, and then the Japan-Korea tensions happened in 2019. And still the US-China tensions are still there. This administration hasn't undone the damage of the previous administration in the US. In addition to that, the geo-economical issues caused by pandemic may become another concern for the industry. But there are also big issues about the climate. I mean, we had many setbacks in last years of the freeze in Texas, fires and droughts in different countries. The number of calamities have increased. Talked about the talent. Talent is definitely a major setback.
But Mr. Chandrasekhar, before I let you go, I want to get a sense from you as a curtain raiser what we can expect next week at Semicon 2022. Who are the big names that you believe will or have already firmed up their commitments to set up shop, to set up manufacturing here?
No, look, I think you will see, first of all, look, I think I'm very happy to be even, in any way associated with the Semicon India 2022. It's a real privilege to be hosting this first of its kind semiconductor conference in Bengaluru and in India in general, and Bengaluru in particular. And I think this is really a bringing together of the finest minds from the world in the field of semiconductors to talk about not just the markets, the movements, the nature of the semiconductor technology and the business and industry in the future, but also about talking about innovations. We've got startups, we've got the state governments, we've got ambassadors from various countries sitting together and talking about how global partnership will shape the future of technology. So I think in a lot of ways, this conference places India at the center of a conversation that is starting for the first time post-COVID about the future of technology in general and the future of the semiconductor sector in specific. And I'm hopeful, as all of us are, that in that conversation about the future of semiconductor, everybody will conclude and agree that India will play a significant role. There will be many MOUs announced in that in the 3-day conference. And I hope you will stay tuned and break the stories about those MOUs and make the people of India more confident about the direction that we are all progressing in terms of the semiconductor, building the semiconductor ecosystem in India.
Well, we will certainly be tracking that very, very closely, Mr. Chandrasekhar. Appreciate you joining us here to take us through what we can expect in the coming week. Appreciate your time today. But Satya Gupta, I want to come to you now. And you've set up Epic Foundation in partnership with people like Ajay Chaudhary, the founder of HCL Technologies. To the point that was being made by both Mr. Dham as well as Mr. Chandrasekhar about India and the potential of the Indian market, demand in India. How important is it going to be as a crucial aspect of that ecosystem to also build out Indian product, which is, not really sort of a relevant priority, at least at this point in time?
Thanks, Irene, and thanks everybody. Epic Foundation was created with intent that today, if you look at the electronics market, right, almost 93% of the products which you consume are global products, right? And product of share of Indian products is almost only about 7%. And all the Indian electronics brands which used to be there, HCL, Wipro, Videocon, are slowly disappeared, right? So now if we have to make semiconductor mission successful, obviously manufacturing is important, but we need something to manufacture also. And that demand for what we manufacture is going to come from the Indian electronics companies because they will be more amenable to utilizing the products out of the foundry. Like in technology world, we used to call something like killer apps, which will make any technology successful. So I think we need fab fillers. For our fabs to be successful, we need fab fillers, which will make the capacity created by the manufacturing companies to be utilized. Like if a fab is not 100% loaded, it does not make profits, right? So through Epic Foundation, we are trying to create both Indian electronics and semiconductor products, which will create the demand for the fab and utilize the wafers which are going to be available in this fab. For example, one of the projects which we are working on is a LED driver chip. Today, India consumes 700 millions of these chips per year. It's a very small, very basically not too complex chip, but it can create huge volume for to be used.
Right. So develop the Indian product market as well is what you're saying. Let me bring Rajiv Kushu back into the conversation. Rajiv, you've put a bunch of reports together at IESA. If you can articulate for us what the key asks are of industry that you want both the central government as well as the state governments to focus on as we move forward.
I think a couple of things. I think we rolled out 2 reports. One was on the India semiconductor market, which basically talks about how big the market is today around $27.5 billion, which will cross by 2026 $64 billion. And what we did I think when we started looking into this aspect, and we realized that that most of the semiconductors which is procured comes as kits, either from China, Taiwan, or Korea. And the reason for that is many of the designs are not happening in the country, which means that what as a country we need to focus on, and Epic is one example of that, is that we need to really focus on design-led manufacturing. And that is one important thing. We need to incentivize designs which come out of India, because that will bring stickiness of manufacturing in the country.
First moves have been made, and as we've said, all the stakeholders on the program that you're seeing have come together to ensure that this does in fact take off. Vinod Dham, Ajit Manocha, Satya Gupta, Rajiv Kushu, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC-TV18 on the Business 360 Semiconductor Town Hall. We will take a break. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute.